Today we're going to be making a scorpion or spider, scorpion/spider, out of a couple of chairs that I got from the scrap guy. I already cut some up, but I'm going to cut this one up for you guys. Alright, here's some of the pieces we're going to be using to make the scorpion spider. Alright, what I'm doing now is I'm going to be cutting the feet off of those legs. Alright, now that we got all 6 of those feet cut off, now we have to cut the other half of these apart. This taper on here is really cool, and I would not be able to remake that, so I'm going to use this taper on here. So I'm going to measure up to where the taper stops. You can feel it, it stops about here, and I'm going to mark it and then set my square the depth. Let's go to that depth, and then I will mark the rest of them to be exactly that long. Alright, we're here back at the table, and this is the scrap from the tapered parts that we cut off. Now we're going to cut some of the straight tube off so we can use that for more parts of the leg. So I already cut this one and I already put this to where it needs to be so that we could just mark all these other ones and cut them where they need to be. Everything that we've cut so far on the bandsaw has these nasty little burrs that can cut you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the burrs off on the belt grinder. What we got here is a box of bearings that I bought off of Amazon. I think it was like 35 bucks for 10 of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to weld them for the joints on the spider. We're going to weld them for the joints on the spider. Alright, here goes all 6 of them tacked up. I got this gear clutcher out of a engine of a Suzuki 550. I think it was an 82. I got this out of the tranny box, or the gearbox that would be on the side of the engine. And I decided to use this for a body for the scorpion spider. But all these gears move, so what I'm going to do is take this, which I have gotten out of a pipe sleeve for steam fitting. These kind of just go in there, kind of like a big washer. So what I'm gonna do is, I took those out of there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it right about here and weld it onto the bottom of here so that these gears won't move so much. And then from there, I'm gonna weld the legs onto it somehow. But first I gotta cut this. So I got some galvanized rod here, and I'm probably gonna have to grind the galvanizing off. I got it from another scrapper. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to stick it in here, and it's gonna be cut at an angle, and these are gonna be the little claws for the spider scorpion before I weld it onto here. So that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so I'm gonna have to spend some time cleaning these up, getting the dirt and the galvanizing off of them. That's what happens when you use scrap metal. That's what happens when you're cheap and you use scrap metal. Sometimes you gotta do stuff that's not so fun. Alright, that's how it looks after you grind all the galvanizing off. Galvanizing is a lot harder to weld through. It's kind of like welding through paint, but that's how the end product's gonna be. Alright, what I'm gonna be doing now is I'm going to be welding these into here as little claws for the legs. There they all go. I'm gonna finish weld them off camera so I don't bore you guys too much. Okay, so now that we have all of these welded on, all the little claws welded on, it is time to attach them to the body. Like so. I put a 2x4 underneath the body to get the correct height on it so it's not just laying on the ground. Alright, so I'm gonna try and make his arms now. I'm gonna try and make his pincers now. I found this that I might use for the claws. But what I am gonna use is, this is the back of the school chair. And this is smaller tube, which is good. I wanted smaller tube, so I'm gonna use the smaller tube from this as his arms, and then I'll use some other littler bearings for the joints. But first we got to cut this up and see how it's gonna work. Not very equal, but it's in half. Alright, so these are cut pieces off of a shopping cart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to smash them onto here so that'll be easier to weld for one. And I think I'm going to put spoons right here to make his forearm a little bit bigger, and that'll be easier to weld on also. So I'm going to smash them down right now. Alright, I guess that's all we're getting. Okay. Alright, so what we have here is shopping cart, wrench from random toolbox, shopping cart, bearing from Amazon, and school chair. We're gonna weld all these together now. Alright, what I'm doing now is I am cutting the corners of the chair. This is, I don't know where the legs came down on the chair. So I'm going to cut these corners off right here in order to make the claw part on the Spider Scorpion bigger. This is what I just cut, and this is the part that we're going to keep. Okay, so what I'm now doing is, these are the pieces of, the corner pieces I cut off of the legs. And now what I'm going to do with these corner pieces is I'm going to weld them onto the, wrist of the Scorpion to make it fatter. Going all the way around, I'm going to weld 3 of them on there. And it'll be awesome. Alright, so I cut this cluster off the back of the bike. These are the spokes that were on it. But I cut the cluster off because they have holes in the sprockets. Some of them don't. So we're gonna use this. Well, we're gonna have fun cutting this apart is what we're gonna do. And I'll show you what we're gonna use it for on the Scorpo Spider. Alright, after a whole lot of dicking around, we got these apart. Alright, so I cleaned off the part that we're going to use. Right now I'm going to cut it. Alright, so this is the only part of the sprocket we're going to use. What I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up, bend it in half. And these are going to be eyeballs, or not eyeballs, but eye sockets. Now, the reason I have to use the torch to bend such thin metal is because this is hardened steel, and if I just try and bend it without heating it up, it'll just break in half instead of bend. Alright, here's a ball bearing that I got off another scrap guy. I did not buy this one off of Amazon. The ones I bought off of Amazon are a lot shinier. And here is the thing we just bent. What I'm going to do is weld it onto the ball bearing. And it'll be some eye sockets. So I found an old saw blade in the bottom of my scrap bucket to use for his bottom jaw. I don't know if you guys can tell how rusty that is. What I did was I took the angle grinder and got rid of the rust on both sides of the saw. But we're gonna use this for his bottom jaw. Alright, the same goes with this kind of steel. The steel is hardened, so in order to bend it without breaking it, we gotta heat it up. Okay, so I found some of this bar stock. I think this is off of a shopping cart. I found some of this bar stock that we're going to cut at an angle, and I'm going to use these for his pincers. Now we're going to torch these to bend them over so they look more like real pincers. As I'm heating these up, I'm going to work my way from the top down. So I'm going to heat up the top, bend it, heat up the middle, bend it, heat up the bottom and bend it. So it'll be more of an even curve. Alright, so here are the pincers after they were heated and pounded, and then I ground off all the burrs and the discoloration from them. Alright, so in order to get these in the right position on this guy, we are going to need to put them somewhere about there. Alright, there goes with some pincers. I'm going to try and bend that one a little closer. Okay, so I found a Allen wrench that I'm going to use for, well, I guess his neck. It's going to be a support for his neck. I'm about to weld on right now. And then we'll see how it goes on the Scorpion Spider. I know Scorpions don't have heads, but spiders do. And I think the Scorpion looks a lot cooler with a head. Alright, so here's the Scorpion upside down. I welded that Allen wrench to his neck, or for his neck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld it in there, and then I'm probably going to put another support coming from the ball on his head up to here to give his head more support so it won't break off. There it goes. Now what we gotta do is the tail, and I'll show you guys how I do that. Okay, so I found this stainless steel rod I had laying around. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and bend it without heating it up. Stainless steel is a pain in the butt to bend if you don't heat it up, but I think this piece is skinny enough and long enough that we should be able to do it. Hey, we got it. Alright, here's how the tail is gonna go in. There's a hole inside this gear cluster. In the main shaft, there's a hole in it that this fits perfectly into. Lucky me. See, there's the hole. It fits perfectly in there. So that'll be sweet. Now what I'm going to do is cut some, I'll be cutting some bed frame tube to cover this with, make it look more like scales on a tail. Alright, this is the chrome bed frame I was talking about. I already cut it up. Alright, here is a smaller bed frame tube. Came off the same bed frame. This was just smaller. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut these at the same kind of angles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bigger ones at the base of his butt. And then as it goes up, I'm going to put the smaller ones so it tapers down. Alright, so these things have a ton of sharp little burrs on them. Not sure you can see that. But they do cut you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind off all the burrs on the belt grinder. Alright, so I got all these pieces cut. I organized them from littlest to biggest, or biggest to littlest. And what we're going to do now is weld this into his butt. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go littlest to biggest and slide them on here and weld them on. Alright, so this is the underside of the thing that I didn't really show you guys that I welded. These are all supports for the legs to make them stronger because this thing's really heavy. This thing's about 25 pounds. There's support for the neck. And it covered up the gear cluster that I really wanted to show, but that's the way it goes. Alright, I'm going to be welding spoons onto his torso or thorax as scales or shell pieces. I don't know if I said this already, but these ball bearings came off of Amazon, and I'm gonna weld them I'm gonna weld this one onto here for his stinger, and then once I get the ball on there, I'm gonna make a actual stinger. Probably added some plate steel. Alright, so this piece right here is from the front of a shopping cart. This is where the two front wheels bolt to. And this is over 1/4 inch. So we're gonna be cutting the stinger out of this stuff. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to try and shape the stinger on the belt grinder. This is going to take a while. Okay, so this is off the grinder. This is the shape we got out of it. I ground that so it will fit on the ball like so. Now all we gotta do is grind all the rust off. weld this thing on. Alright, so now that it's all ground and the edges are ground down too, it's time to weld it on there. I think this is the position I want right here. Any higher looks stupid. Any lower, it's stabbing him in the head. Shopping cart plate came in real handy. Now the last thing we gotta do is weld the nameplate on, which is around here somewhere. Alright, found the nameplate. I'm gonna weld that on the bottom. Got the nameplate on there. Now what we gotta do is brush it all with lacquer thinner to get all this brown smoke off of here and all the oils off, and then clear coat it so it can sit outside. Alright, so what I'm doing first is I'm lacquer thinnering the bottom of it, because I'm going to spray paint the bottom of it also. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with 2 times Rust-Oleum clear coat, so this thing doesn't rust. I'm going to hit it, 3 times with it. I'm going to hit the bottom first, so when I flip it over, his knees won't be all messed up. I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to hit it 2 more times with the clear coat so that when this thing sits outside, it's not going to rust. Alright, so here it is completed. I'd say this took me about 30 hours roughly. I didn't time myself. This is after the clear coat. If you guys want to buy it, it'll be on my website. I marked everything down on my website. They're a lot more expensive than they were. So this thing's going to be pretty inexpensive. So if you guys can please like and subscribe and share this video with people on Facebook or anything, that'd be great. Can't really share it on my Facebook because I don't have a Facebook. If you guys didn't know, I am legally blind. That's why I cannot go on Facebook or edit these videos. So I have to pay somebody to edit these videos, and it'd be a huge help if you guys would purchase a sculpture if you'd like. The best way to get a hold of me is to call me directly. My phone number is on the website. So for custom pieces or commission pieces, calling me would be the best way to get a hold of me. I don't check my emails. I check it like once every 2 weeks, once every month or something like that.